Good afternoon, everyone. I know that it's always difficult to be the first panel just after lunch, but I'm sure that this panel will be such dynamic that it will make you all, getting back to the momentum of this conference. So thank you for inviting me here. Thank you for the organizers. My name is Khalid Badou. I'm Chief of Staff. I'm Director of Institutional Affairs at UM6P. And I have the pleasure to share this session about co-creating tomorrow and talking and sharing with you also the experience of UM6P considering our Vision 2030. So just to give you a little overview about why for such a young university, we are 7 years old, 8 years old university, why did we choose to define or to work on such vision? First, because, if we want to manage success for the future of our university with all the ambitions that you certainly have heard about, it's because there is a great vision behind this university, a vision that was made by the founders, a vision that's been implemented by the management team. And the idea behind Vision 2030 was also to make the community of the university to contribute in shaping this vision. So this, and it will be shared by my colleague Lex Paulson, who is the Scientific Director of the School of Collective Intelligence, and I will give you a brief description about this school. The objective was to be assured that the community of the university feels involved in such strategy and such vision. It's not a vision that's top-down. It's not the management that decides and the community to implement. It's more bottom-up. It's the community that defines the vision, co-create the vision, and it's the management who has the responsibility to implement it. So we are trying to do it, let's say, in a flipped way. My role was to make sure from an institutional and corporate perspective that all the necessary tools are put to the service of our community to make sure that this exercise is successful. Our School of Collective Intelligence, which is, I can say, one of its kind, is the only school in the world, School of Collective Intelligence that gathers education, executive education, and research within the same school. There are some other schools and departments in some other universities that are more either in research or in executive education. But here we have managed to put all under the umbrella of this school. And one of the main initiatives of this school is to accompany all the entities of the university to reflect, to make the change together within the community, either at departmental level or at institutional level. And this is why we have involved this school in this approach with some, breakthrough innovations that my friend and colleague Lex Paulson will be talking about. But also it's an opportunity where all the university components contribute. Students, staff, professors and researchers, but also the partners around the university. We wanted to make of this Vision 2030 like the North Star that is identified and that is being appropriated by all the components of the university. So this is what we'll be sharing with you today, and we'll be happy to also to answer your questions, and either regarding the approach or regarding the results and the outcomes of this. We are calling this actually a learning loop, because it's not a PowerPoint presentation that we make once, but it's a learning loop, and every year there are exercises that are made to make sure that this Vision 2030 is living, that is up to date, and that's also realistic and embedded in our current operations of the university. So that would be the first part of this session. The second part will be, I will be inviting Professor Rashid Serraj, who is the Vice Dean of the College of Agriculture and also the Director of the Africa Initiative at UM6P, who will be sharing with you a very innovative project. I will not spoil his presentation, but I will let him share that with you later on. But it's something that could go beyond the walls of UM6P. It's something that's addressed to the whole Pan-African education and universities ecosystem. And I'm sure that there will be also some collaboration opportunities with universities attending here. So without further delay, I will invite Professor Rashid Serraj to join me on stage. And unfortunately, Lex was not able to be here physically, but he will be sharing his presentation online. So, Lex, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lex Paulson. I'm a professor at the School of Collective Intelligence at UM6P. I want to say thank you for this invitation to present to the AAU General Conference about an initiative that's very dear to my heart, that the School of Collective Intelligence has helped to shape and facilitate on behalf of our university. It's called Vision 2030. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this vision exercise and hopefully how other universities who are looking to co-create a vision with their wider community, how they might be able to do it in a practical way. So our first principle in Vision 2030 is that we are responding to a more complex world. That in a more complex world, where we need to innovate, where we need to build resilient institutions, we can no longer rely on top-down planning by a few consultants or a few people in the president's office. This will not produce sufficiently innovative and sustainable plans that the university needs in a fast-moving world. That to do that, we need shared ownership and collective wisdom, meaning everybody contributing what they know, what they're observing, what they feel, and then taking ownership of the result to be able to execute the plan together. We built this Vision 2030 initiative because there's so many demands being made on universities in Africa right now. Whether it comes to climate change, which is affecting Morocco severely, the challenges of AI and digital transformation, the challenges of demographic change. These require us to be at our very best in coming up with new research, new scientific tools, understanding, partnerships, initiatives. This requires us to be our very best. And so Vision 2030 was an initiative launched by the President's office with the goal of involving and integrating not just the students and teachers and faculty, but also the staff and the community partners who help make our university what it is. And that we didn't want just to create a single vision or a vision statement for 2030, but rather a learning process that will allow us to set a common ambition, a common identity, and then to keep progressing even beyond 2030 to achieve those common ambitions. So you might think of Vision 2030, it must be like, we create some kind of charter and then we have a ceremony and we validate it and then just execute the plan. Well, the world is too complex for that kind of top-down, once-and-for-all exercise, right? To set a vision requires doing several things. First, who are we? What makes us special? What is our collective identity? How do we capitalize on the challenges that we've overcome in the past, the specific ways in which we interact with each other, the diversity that makes our community? How do we affirm that and say, this is our story, this is who we are, this is what makes us special? Second, how does that common identity allow us to guide how we work every day, especially with new people coming in all the time, with a lot of stress, a lot of challenge? How do we define the common values and mindset that allow us to set the behaviors we need to be at our very best, our most inclusive, our most innovative? Third, mobilizing members of our community. So we're constantly sending people from UM6P, teachers, students, staff, out into the world, and we need them to be carrying this common story, these common mindsets and behaviors to represent our university and to hold this mission in their own hands. And finally, because the world is so fast changing, we need to be creating new solutions to challenges, whether it's internal challenges like how we manage our research programs, or external challenges like the needs of African farmers, how we can constantly be adapting our own processes to bring ourselves closer to the needs of the outside world. So the methodology we use from the science of collective intelligence involves two big kinds of thinking. We call divergent thinking, convergent thinking. So our activities in Vision 2030 combine activities that allow us to open up, that that allow us to examine problems from new perspectives. That's what we call divergent thinking, generate new ideas, try to uncover our blind spots. That's the divergent thinking that we use through dialogues, interviews, town halls, as well as convergent thinking that allows us to prioritize, to take all of these ideas and perspectives and synthesize them, prioritize them, say that this is going to be more important than this for the next few years, and to be able to do that collectively in a fair way and in a legitimate way. So we began in 2023 to gather these stories and ideas about our collective identity, our collective values, that then allowed us to start defining what are the ambitions for 2030 that really talk to everybody across the university, and then how can we start converging towards possible solutions and plans to get us there. We wanted to be very clear to the stakeholders because UM6P has over 170 different departments. Some are very big, some are very small. We cannot make a vision that is a one-size-fits-all. We need to create a story that involves everybody, a set of ambitions that don't necessarily give specific targets to every department from top down, but rather ambitions for what kind of work we want to do, what are the values that guide that work, how can we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, and then how do we learn together, identifying problems, working across departments, across the silos that often exist in universities to create practical new approaches to these common problems faced by universities. So we're not trying to create a fixed code of conduct or an action plan that we just define once and execute. The world is too complex for that. So we need to use our collective intelligence to be constantly identifying new challenges and working together to meet them. So Vision 2030 is as much a space for learning as it is a set of goals for a single year. And what we have put in place now since launching Vision 2030 in 2022 is a yearly process. So every year we get a little closer to identifying more clearly what are the most important ambitions, what is the story. Every year that passes brings us new achievements, maybe also new disappointments that we need to understand. And so every year we have this cycle of learning that begins in January and February with dialogues led by our facilitators that we've trained. These are volunteers from different departments who we train. They then identify potential challenges that could be related to integrating foreign students, or how do we pay for our scientific equipment? How do we bring ourselves closer to high school students in Morocco? And then we have a big event we call Crowd Wisdom Day every May. And this is the event where everybody in the university is invited to think together. And that Crowd Wisdom Day, we've adjusted the format. It can be about, the first year it was about setting our ambitions for 2030. And then this year it was about working on these common challenges that the experiment teams have created and bringing perspectives in from all different departments, and then working through the rest of the year to implement those plans, test and learn, and restitute at the end of the year to the UM6P community. So this is a continual process of refining our vision and then identifying the challenges that are getting in the way of that vision to allow us to experiment, test, learn, move forward. Our key achievements. We began by identifying this common identity and common story, the three core values that define our identity and culture, related to our culture of excellence, our desire to dare and move beyond the status quo, our responsibility, our sense of responsibility for our communities in Morocco, across the African continent, and finally, our culture, the way that we work together, defined by our diversity, defined by our use of collective intelligence from the bottom up as well as from the top down. So these were the core values that came up from all of our dialogues and our workshops in the first year. And then we realized we needed to define more clearly for different aspects of our university's work, what should be our common we call metavisions. That's the frameworks that we use to guide each individual department's strategic plan toward a common metavision, a vision that's shared across these departments. And so we created metavisions for research, for all of the research done in our university across all departments, a metavision for all the teaching and student life that we animate across the departments, and a third meta-vision around all of our entrepreneurship programs, social impact programs. And so that all of the different programs could see themselves in one or several of these meta-visions. Again, defined through workshops we co-drafted with inviting anyone to come. We had 20, 30 people. We did do a first draft, and then we send that back to the wider community for feedback and revision. So at every stage, we're diverging, we're converging. We're inviting people in, and then we're synthesizing and validating it as a community. In our first 2 years of this program, we've also established department involving all the departments. What are our key ambitions? What are the challenges that are getting in the way? It's so important to be honest with ourselves that we're not yet at the level of excellence we need to be in every aspect of our work. So we need to really look ourselves honestly in the face and open a space where people can challenge the status quo and say, you know what, we don't do well enough yet to keep our PhD students, or we don't do well enough yet for our staff to show them the path of their careers and how they can progress. We need to do better. We need to be honest with ourselves and not just pat ourselves on the back, but really be critical. That allows us to learn and grow. And then finally, through our training programs within Vision 2030 for facilitators from all the departments, these facilitators, over 100 facilitators we've trained, that could be PhD students, could be teachers, could be members of staff, that those facilitators lead experiment teams on issues that matter to them, whether that's community outreach or how we welcome people on campus, or the quality of our food, or the quality of our sports offerings, or how we do our research across Africa. So these are the different issues that we use these experiment teams to work across departments. So any experiment team will have people from the engineering department working with the people from the business school on, for example, how to promote our university across Africa. So these experiment teams are a transversal way of working across silos on common problems in an open and transparent fashion. So, at this conference, you might be thinking, what are the most up-to-date ways that we can use AI and new technologies to serve our communities? Well, what we've learned is that new technologies can help us scale up our efforts, can help us synthesize the inputs coming in, but those tools are only as good as the collective intelligence that they tap into, right? That the intelligence we need is not going to come from outside Africa. It's not going to come from an algorithm. It's going to come from the local knowledge that's distributed across the community. What is really happening in the departments? What's really happening in the farms, in the fields? What's really happening in our cities? And that is something that AI cannot tell us. Right? This is why we need to be listening in more advanced ways and facilitating these conversations to combine these perspectives that allow us to learn. And so that learning can be accelerated and scaled up with the help of digital tools, but it's really the human collective intelligence that's the heart of Vision 2030. So what would this look like for your university? How could you evolve alongside your community, not just serving it from above, from inside an ivory tower? So if this is interesting to you, if you would like to create your own vision process alongside your community, we welcome you to get in touch with us, and we will be very happy to share our knowledge, our experience, and why not facilitate dialogues and workshops together across our universities. It will be our great pleasure. So we are grateful for this invitation. We hope you have a wonderful time in Morocco, and I wish you a great rest of the conference.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Lex Paulson, for sharing this experience from UM6P. Maybe you can leave some questions to the end of the presentation if there are some questions or precisions, but I can tell you that now Vision 2030 is becoming really embedded within the community of UM6P, and it's not only a slogan, but it's something that's living within the daily life of the university. So we're really proud of this initiative. It's also one of the things that contributed certainly to making UM6P at the top 500 universities worldwide, according to Times Higher Education ranking. And we're looking forward through all the efforts that's been made by the community to move further within this ranking, or similar ones, certainly. Now I'll introduce Professor Rashid Sarraj, who you know now. He was our MC this morning, and he has been working in a very interesting project that is Pan-African universities can be part of. So the floor is yours, Dr. Sarraj.
Thank you. So now my suggestion is to move from the internal collective intelligence of UM6P to the collective intelligence of African universities, if we could. So let me begin with the story we all know very well. We could start with saying 20 years or once upon a time, let's put it like that. Once upon a time, a brilliant student in Lagos University, can be other places as well, designed a solar-powered water purifier for her community. She patented it at her university, get a patent, then watched it gather the dust in a lab. An entrepreneur in Nairobi developed drought-resistant seeds, but they never reached farmers. Typical. A researcher in Dakar cracked a diagnostic breakthrough for malaria, but it never saw a clinic. We might ask why. Because excellence alone is not enough. When systems are fractured, when 80% of our universities still lack labs to incubate innovations and build prototypes, less than 5% of patents find pathways to markets, and industries scream for talents and skills they cannot find. This is part of the dilemma. Now, today, we choose to share a different story. It's basically a dream that we'd like to share with you. It's called the African History Transformation Alliance, ATA. But it's actually the whole idea of how can we together harness the collective intelligence of African academia for claiming Africa's knowledge future. So, as we say, the problem we face is that African innovation is by the day developing and expanding and exploring, but it's still underutilized. There is a disconnect between application and utilization of technology. About 80% of universities still lack innovation labs, as we said. Less than 5% of the patents reach the market. And with a fragmented systems that limit impact, despite, of course, some pockets of excellence here and there across the continent. And we do see more and more these signs of hope across the continent as we move. Now, what if African universities stopped working in silos or working separately? I think as we gather here in the AAU, there's already this experience that we have seen for the last 58 years, as we saw this morning with the AAU. It's a great adventure experience. There are other networks also developing, but today we need to shift gears. We need basically to accelerate the pace for integration. What if we built a unified transformation engine and dream together? With this revolution now in technology and AI, I would say it's about the time. So UM6P, as you've seen in the previous presentation, in our Vision 2030, we've asked these kind of questions internally, but also to Africa, because as you've heard this morning in the opening ceremony, at UM6P, Africa, as we say, is in our DNA from day one. We don't think only for resolving the problems of Morocco, but we think also of the challenges of Africa. And we started from the beginning, from 2017, when the university started. Proof of concept, for instance, can be found in what the excellence in Africa that we have developed with the School of Polytechnic Federal Lausanne called Excellence in Africa, with an idea of bringing some of that. And this has led already to some innovations that have reach the market. It's just the beginning, maybe a drop in the ocean, but it's a sign that shows the way where we could get started. So, as I said from the beginning, UM6P is trying to tackle the African challenges. Most of the development and sustainable development challenges around demography, around food security, natural resources, and our labs, as you can see on the right side of the slide, we'll not get into details, but you could imagine, we did not design research based on science pure, but we designed most of our applied research to address those same challenges that Africa is facing. Most of our labs, and our motto is, as we say, learning by doing. Down you can see a few logos. I didn't have them all, but you can see the Center for African Studies, ARIS, which is on the Social Science and Policies for Africa, Africa Business School, which trains people from across the continent in business, the Africa Genome Center. We have many initiatives. I did put enough space in the slide to put all of them. You have the Bridge Africa, the Next Africa, and so on. And every day you have something, an initiative or a partnership in Africa. That is to show you that that's what's on the table. Our Vision 2030 does not include only the focus on Moroccan challenges, but also on Africa. So now, going back to the HealthAfrik Transformation Alliance, this is a concept that we'd like to share with you today, and we thought this was a good opportunity today to share with you ideas for brainstorming, basically. So we're dreaming about a concept that would combine or integrate 4 major areas. So it would be Africa's first sovereign knowledge engine, connecting basically digitally all the key universities across Africa, blending digital innovation, talent, and policy, without forgetting that. And it would be also grounded in the African agency and global partnerships, building on all the ongoing initiatives. So 4 major pillars, as we see it. Number 1 would be a digitally integrated universities, including databases. The issue of data, as it has been discussed, and it will be even more discussed during this week, is key, but connecting institutions through shared digital infrastructure and AI-driven learning platforms. This is being done in other parts of the Northern Hemisphere. I think it's time to do this for Africa. Number 2, a continental innovation engine, because as we saw, part of the problem is the disconnect that we have between applied research and industry. At UM6P, we put this as one of our top priorities. Those of you who have visited the campus have seen the campus on StartGate and many other startup accelerators. This is part of our objective, not only training students to get degrees, we train entrepreneurs to start developing ideas to hit the market. And I know this is happening also across Africa. We need to get this connected all together and to see how we can build a mass and a critical mass of collective intelligence to have it at the continental level. Number 3 is the future talent forge. Africa needs more and more training in specific fields and the areas, and we have already programs that are running around, but we need to strengthen that and think more about what's coming in terms of technology and AI. And finally, the policy area, I cannot highlight that enough. It's key, and especially the harmonization aspect. When we start moving across Africa, we find a lot of diversity, but we need to come up to speak same languages and establishing Africa's first history policy observatory to drive coordinated reforms. And this is key, actually. Now, as we speak, actually the day before yesterday, this week, we had an agreement signed in Paris, and our chair of the session, I think, who was there, maybe he could tell us a little more about that, if you ask him questions. We have something that's new somehow, building on the partnership with UNESCO. A partnership with UNESCO is not new in Morocco and UM6P, but recently, this week, as I said, we signed with the OCP Foundation a new agreement, and this has several components, including higher education. It's one of the top, and also the use of AI. This is probably one drop in the ocean of Africa, but it could be a good start for a more dynamic initiative to get started. I think the work with UNESCO around the pillars, there are 5 pillars. I will not go into details, but as I said, artificial intelligence is one of them, and higher education, cross-border academic mobility is another one, as well as environmental ecosystem restoration and other issues. Now, as we speak about collective intelligence, we'd like to throw all these ideas in brainstorming, probably in the future as well, and looking how we can harness this potential of the 450 plus universities. This is basically a fertile ground for transformation. We've witnessed the great work being done by the Centers of Excellence. We hosted them actually a couple of years ago in Marrakesh, and we could witness across sectors. This was in health, in energy, maths, you name it. And I think that would be also a good start to start building on what happened in the ACE Impact. And of course, with all the wisdom we have with the VCs in the room, I think they can also be involved in bringing the collective intelligence of the AAU for building on the legacy of all what has been done for shaping the future of African ST. Now, just quickly, to throw some of the ideas, we see this in the first phase, building a digital spine, something around 50. I mean, these are numbers indicative. We can work around that together, connected to the cloud learning infrastructure. We have the data center that could facilitate all that. We have the infrastructure, and the whole idea is to start building synergies. An innovation fund with ventures, building again on what's being done by Arua and others, many others. The Reforum is doing it. The MasterCard Foundation is doing it. But what we need today is connecting all those dots. And finally, the gender parity dashboard, we need to it as well there. Now, just to give you a quick snapshot about some of the ongoing partnerships that we have. Our partnership focuses not only on public sector, but we also connect to the industry. And actually, we are in a good position at UM6P because from the inception, we came actually from close collaboration and inception with OCP. But we need to bring in the African SMEs, can bring other players. There are plenty of African models, as we mentioned, UNESCO, AAU, Arua, the MasterCard, and we need to co-create the approach to develop all this with all the ongoing partnerships. Now, a final word, just before leaving the final slide, is about the Africa Initiative. As I said, Africa is in the DNA of UM6P, and the Africa Initiative has been active from the beginning also in this. We work in 5 areas that could also be involved to the project I just described now. The first one is on foresight. We do think that this is a priority, and we hope that we can build collaboration and collective intelligence around that to envision the African futures. Because we cannot resolve the problems of today if we don't think about the problems that are coming our way in 2050, 2060, and above. We work on connecting R4D with development priorities. So we're not, in a sense, going into the academic science, but we focus on sustainable development, and you see how we can connect with the research with development outcomes. We work with all the networks, as I said already, and as I said, also innovation and entrepreneurship. This is a key, important priority, and we hope that can also build more momentum on this within the AU. And finally, we keep the communication flowing with all our partners across Africa. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rashid. In fact, this is a reflection about what UM6P is also, made for. It has been mentioned since the opening ceremony, UM6P is an African university. It's here to be a platform where we can connect initiatives, networks, and collaborations within the African continent by the Africans, We're not supposed to wait for others to tell us how we can work together. We are able to work together collectively with shared collective intelligence, but also with partners like UNESCO, like the Gates Foundation, the MasterCard Foundation, and other organizations who are there to support initiatives where continental collaborations can thrive and move forward. I don't know if we have much time for questions, but if I see some hands raising in the next 30 seconds, we can take 2 questions. Yes, there is one question there. And yeah, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Abdullahi Ribadu, the Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission in Nigeria. You said you are working with about 50 plus universities, digitally integrating them with the platforms, etc. I just wish to know, what is the criteria, what is the recruitment process, what is the eligibility for the recruitment process that you use? Thank you.
Well, it's a great question. As I mentioned, it's indicative. The 50, we don't have to take it literally. It can be more, can be less. Now, what kind of criteria? I think that's a very important point as well. One tendency right now in across the networks in Africa is that we try to have connecting basically the well-off, the more developed universities, like the ones we have, for instance, in South Africa and other parts, like what's happening in Arua. We believe that we need to do a bit of both. We need to link, because if we want to build synergy, we have also to allow, and this applies not only to the digital connection, it would allow also to entrepreneurship. The networks that we're building, we want also some of the countries that are right now lagging behind could be involved as well, so that we can have the transfer of technology between the well-developed universities and the ones. So we need to work on this. As I was mentioning to the AG, I think we need to do a bit of brainstorming and see how we could combine both types of, so that the advanced universities could also benefit the experience of the others. We have to work on that.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes, please. And that would be the last one, so that we can prepare
Thank
for
you.
the
Thank
next
you very
session.
much. It's not a question, but really to appreciate the collaboration with the UM6P, the leadership that you are having in the continent, and all the great ideas that I think we can build together, and in the context of this initiative, Campus Africa, and what we have been discussing today. So just to say congratulations for these ideas, and our hand is in your hand together with other colleagues to advance this agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And just in a nutshell about this collaboration with UNESCO, as Dr. Siraj mentioned, it was signed last Friday, and it's a Pan-African initiative, which means different African countries will be concerned by 5 main initiatives. One about AI, which is, it will be related to training policymakers on how to implement AI in national strategies. Second, about patrimony, how to support officials and experts in culture and patrimony preservations using new technologies, digitalization, etc. 3 is about, it's a project that started already in 2017 and it will be renewed. It's called The General History of Africa. So how to tell the African narrative in a different way through the contribution of all African continents. 4th initiative is about preserving biodiversity in some regions of Africa. So there are 2 or 3 countries that have been identified, and there will be work with local ecosystems to preserve patrimony, the biodiversity. And last but not least is Campus Africa, which is a project that encourages exchange of students, of the PhD students and professors, so mobility of competencies within the African continent, and to nurture each other. It's not only with Morocco, but also intra-African initiatives. So this is just in a nutshell. Information available on our website, and we'll be looking forward to have many African universities benefiting from this partnership. So thank you very much, and I would like again to welcome you back in Morocco and hope you'll enjoy your journey here. Thank you.
We can do it better. Put your hands together for them, please. Thank you so much, the chair and the presenter. As we do after every session, we would adorn you some celebratory zash to say thank you for your hard work. So I want to invite up here Professor Frederick Atoama, who is the Director for Research and Programs at the AAU, to kindly do that for us. Put your hands together for Prof. Frederick Atoama. Beautiful. Thank you so much. The liveliest audience ever.